Time now for this week's Goofy Award. The opposition to the carbon tax seems to be a mystery to supporters, well, in the media, academia, political circles. Simply put, people feel taxed to death and don't want to pay another cent for anything. The original carbon tax introduced in BC was by legislation revenue neutral. Well, that meant every cent collected by the government had to be returned in the form of tax reductions. Now, I'm not going to go into it, but the BC and Alberta NDP governments, along with the federal government, rejected that idea and kept billions in taxes. Now, this week's Goofy focus on the most egregious example, and true to form, the federal Liberals just kept making it worse. But I better give you a little background. When the federal Liberals introduced the carbon tax in 2019, it promised small business that it would rebate 10% of all carbon tax revenues taken from them. But somehow, after 5 years, $2.5 billion that were owed small business, well, they hadn't got a cent. I'm shocked, by the way, that carbon tax supporters can't figure out why that might spur opposition. And after working with the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, the federal government did agree to a plan to rebate about 600,000 small businesses, $2.5 billion, starting in the first week of December. And told them, well, individual rebates aren't taxable. The federal government said, we won't tax those either. But you know what? They changed their mind, or at least the Canada Revenue Agency did. They decided to tax those rebates to small business. And not a surprise, that was controversial. And after pressure from the CFIB, the government stated that the rebates for small business would not be subject to tax. But that promise to make the legislative changes never happened. Why? Because they prorogued Parliament. So the tax rebates to small business are going to be taxed. And making it more confusing, by the way, is the Department of Finance says the rebate is tax-free, but the CRA says, no, it's taxable. And it will tax those small business rebates unless Parliament's recalled and legislation is put in to remove the taxation. CEO and president of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, Dan Kelly, sums it up by saying, the carbon tax has been one of the most ridiculous files in my 30-year career in public policy. Come on, is anyone really wondering why 83% of independent business owners oppose the tax? Okay, I guess they are confused, at least if you're in the media, academia, and you're a climate activist.